My name is Sandra, and I'm the second child in a family of retail workers. My parents were always busy, rushing between work and various development courses they attended with my older brother. As for me? Well, I was the afterthought. From my earliest memories, it was clear who the star of our family show was. My brother got everything first, the newest toys, the latest gadgets, all the attention. Me? I got his hand-me-downs. And yes, that included his clothes, which was particularly tough since, you know, I was a girl who desperately wanted to wear something feminine for once. The only real bright spot in my childhood was my grandmother, Mom's mother. She was my saving grace, picking me up from school every day and taking me to her house. Unlike my parents, who were always too busy with my brother's activities, Grandma actually cared about my life. "How was school today, sweetheart?" she'd ask, her eyes twinkling with genuine interest as we walked home. "Did you learn anything exciting?" She was the one who showed up at parent-teacher meetings, who checked my homework, who actually knew what was happening in my life. While my parents were busy playing Monopoly with my brother, their favorite family activity that somehow never included me, I'd be sent off to watch cartoons alone. "Sandra, honey, why don't you go watch TV?" Mom would say whenever I tried to join their game. "The rules are too complicated for you." That was pretty much how things went in our house. I learned early on to be self-sufficient, cooking my own lunch, cleaning my room, doing my homework without help. It wasn't that my parents were bad people, they just had their golden child, and it wasn't me. But looking back now, I can see how those early experiences shaped me. While they were grooming my brother to be their future business prodigy, I was developing independence and self-reliance. I learned to take care of myself, to find my own path, and most importantly, to recognize the value of having someone like my grandmother in my corner. Everything changed the day I bought that superhero comic book. I'd saved up my pocket money for weeks, counting every penny until I finally had enough. Standing in front of the magazine rack, I felt like I was about to discover a whole new world, and I was right. "Are you sure you want to spend your money on that?" the store clerk asked, probably used to kids buying candy instead. "Yes, I'm sure," I replied, clutching my precious purchase. That night, I couldn't sleep. The artwork in the comic book was mesmerizing. I found myself tracing the lines with my fingers, studying how the artists created movement and emotion with just ink and paper. The next morning, I grabbed some notebook paper and started drawing. At first, my sketches were rough, stick figures with wobbly lines. But I practiced every chance I got. During lunch breaks, after homework, even during some classes, sorry, math teacher. Soon, my drawing started improving, and that's when an idea hit me. "Hey, what if we created our own superhero?" I suggested to my friends during lunch one day. Someone different from the usual ones. "Like what?" my friend Lisa asked, genuinely interested. "What about a hero who helps homeless animals and kids in need?" I suggested, already sketching in my notebook. "No fancy superpowers, just someone who actually cares." My friends loved it. We started working on it together, coming up with stories during lunch breaks. I'd draw rough sketches, and we'd all contribute ideas. Our hero became real to us, a regular person who chose to make a difference. Ms. Thompson, our homeroom teacher, caught us passing around our latest comic story during class one day. Instead of getting angry, she asked to see it. I nervously handed over our work, expecting detention. "Sandra, this is remarkable," she said, flipping through the pages. "Would you consider doing something like this for the school newspaper?" Before I knew it, our little comic was appearing in the school paper. Other students started coming up to me in the hallways, asking about the next installment. For the first time in my life, I was known for something I'd created, not as someone's sister. My brother noticed the attention I was getting. "It's just some dumb drawings," he'd mutter at home, clearly annoyed that people were talking about me instead of him. Then came career day. Ms. Thompson asked everyone what they wanted to be when they grew up. Without thinking, I stood up and said, "A designer." The whole class erupted in support. "That makes so much sense." Your art is amazing. You'd be perfect for that. Ms. Thompson smiled warmly. With your talent and dedication, I think that's a wonderful choice, Sandra. I was so excited that I couldn't wait to tell my parents. That evening at dinner, I shared my dream. A designer? Mom laughed, exchanging looks with Dad. Honey, that's not a real career path. If you want to be successful, Dad added, you need to think like an entrepreneur. Look at your brother, he already understands business principles. But I don't want to do business, I protested. I want to create things. Creating things won't pay the bills, Mom dismissed my dream with a wave of her hand. You need to be practical. Hurt and disappointed, I went to the one person I knew would understand, Grandma. When I showed her my drawings and told her about my dreams, her eyes lit up. My talented girl, she said, hugging me tight. Wait right here. The next day, she surprised me with an easel, real canvases, and a set of professional paints. But that wasn't all, she cleared out her spare room, transforming it into a proper art studio just for me. Time moved on, and my brother graduated from high school with all the fanfare you'd expect. The graduation party my parents threw for him was extravagant. They invited the whole family and all his friends. I still remember the day he announced his college plans at dinner, right after the festivities had died down. I got accepted into the economics program, he declared proudly, waving his acceptance letter. I'm going to be the richest businessman this family has ever seen. Just watch me. That's our boy, Dad beamed, raising his glass. Now that's what I call planning for the future. You'll make us all proud. Mom wiped away happy tears. We always knew you were destined for great things. Meanwhile, I was in my final years of high school, splitting my time between regular classes and developing my art portfolio. My little studio at Grandma's had become my sanctuary, walls covered with sketches and paintings. Every new piece felt like another step toward my dream of becoming a designer. I'd spend hours there after school, perfecting my techniques and working on new projects. When graduation finally came around, I'd already been accepted into the design program at the local college. My portfolio had impressed the admissions committee, but my parents' reaction was less than enthusiastic. Well, Mom sighed, looking at my acceptance letter like it was a bill she didn't want to pay. I suppose we'll pay for it. But don't come crying to us when you can't find a job. Art degrees aren't exactly practical. By the time I started college, my brother had already graduated and opened his own auto parts store. My parents couldn't stop talking about it. Every family dinner, every phone call, every conversation somehow circled back to his entrepreneurial spirit. I was just starting to feel comfortable in my college routine, really diving into my design projects and making friends with like-minded creative people, when everything exploded. My parents showed up unannounced one day after my design theory class, catching me as I was walking across campus with my portfolio case. Sandra, we need to talk, Mom said, her tone making it clear this wasn't a casual visit. Her face had that determined look I'd learned to dread over the years. You need to leave college, Dad announced without preamble, standing in the middle of the campus walkway. Your brother needs help at the store. I thought they were joking at first. What? You can't be serious. He's spending too much on employee salaries, Mom explained, as if this was the most reasonable thing in the world. As his sister, you can work for free. It's the least you can do for family. We've always taught you the importance of family. They laid out their plan in excruciating detail. I'd work as a salesperson, handle inventory, make cold calls, and clean the store every evening. All without pay, of course. They'd clearly thought this through, though they hadn't thought about what I wanted at all. And what exactly will my brother be doing while I'm doing all this work? I asked, my voice shaking with anger. I could feel my hands cramping around my portfolio case, my knuckles turning white from the grip. Mom's expression brightened, as if she was explaining something wonderful to a particularly slow child. He'll be managing the store, of course. He has a business degree, Sandra. He's qualified to run things. Your brother has studied for this. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. I'm not dropping out. I've already done an internship at Davidson Design Studio, and they've hinted at a position after graduation. That's what I want, to work as a designer. They even said they've never had an intern with my level of creativity. Mom's laugh cut through the air like a knife. It was loud enough to make nearby students turn and stare, some of them giving me sympathetic looks. Oh, honey. You want to work for someone else's uncle? Be someone's employee? We're offering you a family business, a real future. Do you know how many people would kill for this opportunity? Mom, please, I pleaded, fighting back tears. My portfolio felt heavy in my hands, filled with projects I'd poured my heart into. I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to run a business. I want to draw. I want to create. I'm good at it. My professors say I have real talent. Professor Jenkins even said I could have a real future in this field. Talent doesn't pay bills, Mom snapped, her face hardening. But since you're being stubborn about this. She straightened her jacket and turned to Dad. We're going to the administration office right now. We'll tell them you're no longer a student here and that we're withdrawing our tuition payment. My heart stopped. The world seemed to tilt sideways. Mom, Dad, please don't do this. Please just listen to me for once. This is my future we're talking about. There's nothing to discuss, Mom said coldly. You either come work at the store, or we stop paying for this hobby of yours. It's time you grew up and faced reality. Through my tears, I watched my parents' figures getting smaller as they walked away, heading to dismantle my future. The autumn leaves swirled around them as they disappeared into the building. 45 minutes later, they emerged, looking pleased with themselves. They spotted me still sitting on the bench and walked over, triumphant smiles on their faces. Well, that's taken care of, Mom announced brightly. We've signed the withdrawal papers and canceled the tuition payments. You're officially no longer a student here starting next semester. Time to pack up your things and come home, Dad added, as if he was telling me about a surprise party. Your brother needs you at the store first thing Monday morning. Welcome to the real world, Sandra, Mom said, patting my shoulder. Trust me, you'll look back on this day and realize we did you a favor. Now let's go home, you have a lot of packing to do. They turned and walked away, leaving me sitting there with my now useless portfolio and shattered dreams. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and called the one person who had never let me down. Grandma, I sobbed into the phone. They're making me leave college. They went to the administration and... Slow down, sweetheart, her calm voice came through. Tell me everything. Through tears, I explained the situation, the store, my brother's needs, my parents' ultimatum, everything. Grandma listened quietly, only occasionally making small sounds of disapproval. Don't pack a single thing, she said firmly when I finished. I'm coming down there tomorrow. This nonsense stops now. You just focus on your studies. True to her word, Grandma arrived 3 days later. I didn't go with her to the administration building, I was too nervous, but when she came out 2 hours later, she was smiling. It's all taken care of, she announced. I've paid for the rest of your education. You're staying right where you belong. I hugged her so tight I thought I might break something. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The peace lasted exactly 6 hours, and all this time, Grandma spent time with me. That's when Mom called her. How dare you interfere? I could hear Mom's voice screaming through the phone from across the room. This is none of your business. Grandma held the phone away from her ear, rolling her eyes. It became my business when you tried to destroy your daughter's future. The yelling continued for several minutes before Grandma simply hung up. Then my phone started ringing. If you don't come to your senses right now, Mom's voice was ice cold, you can consider yourself disinherited. Is that what you want? To throw away your family for some art classes? I took a deep breath, my hand steady for the first time in days. I'm staying in college, Mom. I'm sorry, but I have to follow my own path. Then you're no daughter of mine." The line went dead. An hour later, I saw the Facebook post, heartbroken. "Our own daughter has abandoned her family in our time of need. She's chosen selfish pursuits over family loyalty. Please pray for us during this difficult time." The comments section exploded. Aunt Sarah wrote, "I always knew she was an ungrateful child." Uncle Jim countered with, "Let the girl follow her dreams." Cousin Rachel chimed in about family obligations, while my high school friend Emma defended my right to choose my own path. I sat on my bed, reading comment after comment, feeling sick to my stomach. Grandma found me there, still scrolling through the reactions. "Stop reading that garbage," she said firmly, taking my phone away. "You know what? I've made a decision. I'm changing my will. Everything I have is going to you." I looked up, startled. "Grandma, no, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," she interrupted. "I've watched your parents and brother long enough. They'd burn through my life savings in a month on another half-baked business scheme. But you," she cupped my face in her hands, "you have real talent and drive. You'll make something of yourself." Life has a funny way of proving people right or wrong. I was deep into my final year of college when Grandma called with the news about my brother's store. "It's closing down," she said, trying to keep the "I told you so" out of her voice. "Your brother couldn't make the numbers work." "What happened?" I asked, though I already had a pretty good idea. "Same old story, more money going out than coming in. But here's the kicker." She paused for dramatic effect. "He's already got another brilliant business idea." Sure enough, a week later, my brother's Facebook status lit up with excitement, proud to announce my newest venture. Opening Ink Master Studios with my buddy Mike. Best tattoo parlor in town, coming soon. Entrepreneur, business owner, success. I couldn't help but notice he'd used the artist emoji, when he'd always mocked my artistic pursuits. Grandma kept me updated on the family drama. "Your parents took out another loan against what's left of their equity," she told me during one of our weekly dinners. "They're funding this tattoo parlor scheme now. Second mortgage, if you can believe it." The tattoo parlor started off with a big grand opening party. My brother posted daily photos of their luxury space, way too big for a starter business, but he always did think bigger was better. Their social media was full of professional-looking photos of the expensive furniture and top-of-the-line equipment. But then the posts started changing. More and more of them featured free tattoos for influencers and promotional work. Especially, as Grandma noted with a snort, for pretty girls who caught my brother's or Mike's eye. It took exactly 1 year for the tattoo parlor to go under. Too much overhead, too many freebies, not enough paying customers. The going out of business sign went up without any social media fanfare. Meanwhile, my life was taking a very different direction. I graduated with honors, my final portfolio stronger than I could have imagined when I first started college. The day after graduation, I got the call I'd been hoping for. "We'd love to have you join our team," said Sarah, the creative director at Davidson Design Studio. "Your internship work was exceptional, and your current portfolio, well, let's just say we'd be crazy to let you go elsewhere." The salary they offered was more than I'd expected for a starting position. Within a month, I'd found a small but charming apartment of my own. It wasn't fancy, just a one-bedroom with good natural light for my artwork space, but it was mine. Every payday, I put a portion of my salary into savings. After watching my family's financial drama unfold, I was determined to build a secure future for myself. My first big project at the firm got rave reviews from the client, and I could feel my professional reputation growing. "See?" Grandma said when I showed her my first big client presentation. "This is what happens when you stick to your guns and follow your talent." The house of cards my parents had built finally came crashing down. 2 business loans, both secured against their house, became impossible to pay when my brother's ventures failed. I heard they're selling the house from Grandma during our weekly calls. Even after selling the house, they were still underwater. They started selling everything else: Mom's precious antique collection, Dad's beloved golf clubs, their matching luxury cars, even Mom's designer handbags she'd been so proud of. The real shock came when my brother announced he was moving to Arizona. "Can't help with the loans," he told them. "Those are in your names, not mine. I need a fresh start." I was at Grandma's house one Sunday afternoon, helping her organize her craft room, when a moving truck pulled up outside. Through the window, I watched in disbelief as my parents climbed out of their now ancient Toyota, the only vehicle they had left. "We're here," Mom announced, walking straight through Grandma's front door without knocking. "Where should we put our things?" Grandma stood in her hallway, arms crossed. "And what exactly do you think you're doing?" "Moving in, of course," Dad said, already directing movers with their boxes. "We have nowhere else to go." "Oh, really?" Grandma's voice could have frozen hell. "And who said you could live here?" Mom looked shocked. "Mom, we're your family. You can't turn us away. We lost everything because of those loans." "You mean the loans you took out to finance your precious son's half-baked schemes?" Grandma's eyebrow arched. "The same son who abandoned you to your debts." "Well," Mom said, lifting her chin. "It doesn't matter. I'm your only daughter, I'll inherit this house anyway. We might as well move in now." Grandma's laugh was sharp and cold. "Is that what you think? Let me clear something up for you right now. Every penny I have, every brick in this house, is going to Sandra. I've seen how you handle money. You and your son would burn through my life savings in months." Mom's face contorted with rage as she processed Grandma's words. Then she turned on me, her finger pointing accusingly. "You," she spat. "You planned this all along, didn't you? Turning my own mother against me, stealing my inheritance like a common thief." I stood there, feeling strangely calm in the face of her fury. Years ago, this would have reduced me to tears, but not anymore. "Mom, you need to leave." "Leave?" she shrieked. "Listen to you. Acting like you own this place already. Who do you think you are, giving orders in your grandmother's house?" Mom was on a roll now, years of resentment pouring out. "You ungrateful little snake. First you abandon the family business, then you turn my mother against me, and now you're standing there acting like you're better than us?" "Mom," I said quietly, "please leave. This isn't your house, and you're not welcome here." "Not welcome?" She laughed hysterically. "I'm her daughter, her only daughter, and you're just—" Before she could finish, Grandma stepped forward and wrapped her arm around my shoulders. "She's the only person who's ever felt truly at home here," she said firmly. "The only one who appreciated this house for more than its monetary value. The only one who filled it with creativity and joy instead of schemes and demands. Now, both of you, get out of my house. And take your boxes with you." They left, but not quietly. Mom cursed and ranted all the way down the driveway, while Dad tried to negotiate until the very end. Through it all, Grandma and I stood in the doorway, watching them load their boxes back into the truck. That was 3 years ago. Life has moved forward, as it tends to do. I'm still at Davidson Design Studio, where I've been promoted to lead designer on several major accounts. My latest project, rebranding a national coffee chain, just won an industry award. I haven't spoken to my parents or my brother since that day at Grandma's house. Sometimes I see posts from my brother on social media. He's always starting some new venture, always claiming this one will be his big break. My parents, I hear through family gossip, are living in a small apartment on the other side of town. But Grandma and I have only grown closer. Last month, I used some of my savings to help renovate her house. I designed everything myself, new color schemes, custom artwork for the walls, even some unique furniture pieces I commissioned from local artisans. Grandma loves showing it off to her friends. "My granddaughter did all this," she tells everyone who visits. "She designed everything herself. Didn't she do a wonderful job?" Sometimes, when she's hosting her bridge club or her garden society meetings, I sit in the kitchen, the same kitchen where I used to do my homework after school, and listen to her proudly giving tours. It makes me smile every time. Yesterday, as we sat on her newly redesigned back porch, drinking tea and watching the sunset, she turned to me with a twinkle in her eye. "You know what the best investment I ever made was?" she asked. "What's that?" "Paying for your college education," she said, squeezing my hand. "Some people invest in stocks or real estate. I invested in your dreams. And look how well that turned out." I couldn't argue with that. Looking around at the beautiful space we'd created together, I felt completely at peace with all my choices.